Hello and welcome to the F1 Feeder Series podcast, your guide to keeping up to date on everything in the junior single-seater world. I'm your host, Jim Kimberley, and this week we're in the middle of an F1 double-header finale sandwich. Try and say that quickly. Of course, we're the F1 Feeder Series podcast, but I have to say that the top tier is pretty well covered by the three people joining me this week. First up is a newcomer to the podcast. Although we've spoken about him before, he's finished up a silverware-winning second season in Formula Regional Europe, but his 2022 just continues to get better. He was on the F1 grid for the São Paulo Grand Prix last weekend, and things have improved even more today as he joins the podcast. Welcome, Eduardo Dudu Barrichello. How are you today?
Thank you very much for the chance to be here. I'm really happy. That's my first time here as well. And as you just said, I had a great weekend here. Back home, track is 20 minutes from my house, so it was just lovely. I was at the grid, as you mentioned. I did a couple of stories on Instagram, just quite close to the drivers and everything. And as you said, it wasn't my first time, but it's always nice to be there. Yeah, and also this year in FRECA was more or less a roller coaster, but I guess we'll talk about it.
We'll properly dive into that, don't you worry. Next up is a racer who officially becomes our most frequent driver guest. And since his last visit a little over a month ago, he's added a vice champion title to his growing list of accolades. And now this upcoming week, he's going to be driving on the F1 weekend in Abu Dhabi. Plus, he has some exciting news about his 2023 plans. More of that to come. Great to have you back, Alex Dunne. What a year!
Yeah, thank you for having me again. It's been a pretty incredible year. You know, being crowned as British F4 champion and finishing second in Italian F4 has been you know it's been incredible. I think, you know, definitely at the start of this year, if you told me those were the results I was going to get, I would have told you were crazy. So you know, I think it's been a really incredible year, and then also to announce my plans for next year, which is GB3, obviously is a nice step forward as well.
It's huge. I think you can probably call me crazy anyway, but doesn't really matter about what I predict. But congratulations on everything. We'll talk about all that as well. Finally, a few months since we last had her on the podcast, and well, since she was on the podcast, her career path has taken her down a route to be interviewing some little-known names like George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. You can probably put all of that down to your practice speaking with Dino Beganovic and Joel Grandforce back in August. F1 Feeder Series editor Maria Clara Castro, can you please confirm that we are the sole reason that you are now such an internet celebrity?
Confirmed. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be back. I love this intro. I read it in the script and I was like, gee, you're a fucking artist. Hello, everyone, again. And it's really nice to have Alex and Dudu here. This is going to be a really great chat.
It is. I can't wait to hear about your weekend as well. I mean, drivers are cool, but seeing all the stuff that you've done this weekend was amazing. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, we'll put a link in the podcast description show notes with where Maria was on the F1 official Twitter account video because of an interview question she asked to the newest F1 race winner, George Russell. Big time stuff. Now, Maria, I can't believe you've actually got time for us on the podcast. But before we get started, if you enjoy, please like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or leave a rating or review if you're listening to the audio-only version. You can leave a rating on Spotify, review us on Apple Podcasts. We just nudged up to a 4.8 star rating on Spotify too. Amazing to see everybody enjoying the podcast. Thank you so much. And also, if you're watching on YouTube and you're impressed by my fashion, you can look as good as I do with the official F1 Feeder Series merchandise. We have this hoodie and much more available to buy. Look for the link in the description below or the podcast show notes. Just a hint, if you want to get an extra large, I'm 6'4" and this is slightly too small, so go a size or 2 extra if you are going to get something. Also, if you haven't already, check our F2 2023 guide video on the YouTube channel. It's a new type of video we put out, and we'd love to see what you think so we can create the best feeder series content for you. If you like it, leave her a comment and let us know. We genuinely appreciate every single one. Okay, a little unorthodox, but it's all very relevant this week, especially with two people on the podcast. Let's start with Brazil/Formula One, which isn't really our remit usually. Dudu, it's your first time on the podcast, as you confirmed, not your first time at Interlagos. How was your weekend, mate? It looked really, really good.
Yeah, my weekend was very nice, especially because I had my brother and my dad there with me. We were working at Porto, and we had a huge villa and everything. And we had a lot of fun. We took a lot of pictures. We talked to a couple of drivers as well. I had the pleasure to go into Ferrari again. Saw the car, saw the tires, everything. So it was super nice. Took a lot of pictures and had a lot of fun. Saw some friends there as well that were watching as well the race. So it was just a nice weekend.
Rewinding a little bit as well, before the weekend, I saw that you and a certain Formula 2 champion were at a go-karting track. Was that on like Thursday, Friday or something? What was that all about?
Yeah, I think that was Thursday. And me and Felipe, we were in Aldeia da Serra, which is a pretty nice track here. We were go-karting a little bit, crashing into each other a little bit. And, we had some fun.
Not too much crashing. Imagine if you took the champion out before his finale this weekend at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
I saw as well, just on your stories, that obviously your father knows a lot of people, but it seems that relationship extends to yourself. You looked very, very comfortable and friendly with Felipe Massa, for example, on the grid, and talk about Felipe Drugovich. How tight-knit is the F1 or the motorsports community in Brazil? Because you all look like you're best of friends.
Yeah, we're all very close. Especially my father knows a lot of people in the paddock as well. So it's just good being around Brazilians. We get along very well. And, we just have fun.
I bet you do. I can't imagine some of the stories that you can't tell on the podcast. Maria, you're obviously now internet famous for confirming that George and Lewis are well aware of that photograph on the screen now on YouTube if you're watching. Can you tell us about your weekend? One, how did you manage to be asking the new race winner and a 7-time world champion questions? And also, can you give us a little bit of news about Brazilian F4? Because that will be joining the F1 support bill next year.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, about my weekend, I had the best weekend ever because I love working and I love motorsports, especially Formula One. So I had these two aspects of my life together, and it was just surreal. And yeah, I got to ask Lewis a question on Thursday because I went to this like special press conference and everything, and I asked him how did he think that Formula One would keep his legacy once he was no longer part of the grid, and he was like a little, "Whoa, that's a great question," and then just started giving me this speech, and I was like, Jesus, I'm talking to Lewis Hamilton. I mean, it was the first time that I saw him. I was like, he's real. I mean, wow. It was just out of this world experience. And regarding George, well, every race, after the race, there's this press conference, and I didn't go to any press conference before, like after the sprint on Saturday or after the qualifying. So I had to go on Sunday. So I got there and I saw George and I was like, I have to ask him that. And I had this thing in me in which I cannot ask a question that I don't know the answer. I don't know, just like a journalist thing I have inside me. And I did ask him, and he was just so honest and vulnerable in some sort of way. I loved his answer. And about Brazilian F4, yes, Brazilian F4 will be the F1 support bill next year. We received that with great enthusiasm. It means a lot to the category. If we think, for instance, of Naked F4, it had a big impact of being a supporting bill in Mexico Grand Prix. So the same thing, the same logic applies to Brazilian F4. And it means a lot because the grid will probably be changing for next year. Some drivers will go to, I don't know, Europe or the States. Some are staying, and there will be more competitiveness. So, and they need this some sort of visibility, and they will get this next year. So well deserved. Yeah, absolutely amazing news.
It really, really is. It's so good to see Formula One supporting those categories below, because it will have that additional benefit of, in countries like Brazil, where Formula One visits once, there's not all sorts of other stuff going on, that you guys will have that massive spotlight shone on it, which is so exciting. I'm very, very thrilled to see how the support bill will be next year. Speaking of support bills, see that segue, Alex? I thought your racing was all but over when we spoke last time. Seems not. You're going to be in the same track as Maria's new best friends, George and Lewis, although not at the same time. Can you tell us a little bit more about your plans for this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to be racing this weekend at Yas in F4 with High Tech as the support race for F1, which is, you know, super cool. I've never been to a Grand Prix before. I think obviously I've been to Yas before when I did UAE at the start of the year, so I'm looking forward to going back again. You know, I really enjoyed my time out in the UAE, in the Middle East, and I really love the track as well. So yeah, you know, I think it's going to be a really cool experience to be there with all the Formula One drivers and seeing what it's like on an F1 weekend.
Were you invited by High Tech, or was it something you said, oh, this is something I'd want to do? How did this whole thing start?
Well, I think it kind of originally came out after we did the UAE last year, because there was this exact race last year as well. And I think kind of halfway through the year when we were doing British F4, they asked me that if it for whatever reason came around again, would I like to do it? And I said yeah, because, you know, I think racing on an F1 weekend in F4 is not something you get to do every weekend. So it's a pretty cool opportunity. And yeah, you know, they invited me and asked me if I'd like to do it with them. So I said, yeah, sure. I think it'd be a pretty cool race as my last race in F4.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I can't believe that you've never been to a Grand Prix weekend. It's going to be magical for you. Dudu, you've obviously been to several. What's something that Alex could expect? And do you have any top tips?
Well, I've been racing in F1 weekends. I think I did 5 times, if I'm not wrong.
Wow.
And it's super special. The track walk for me, it's always amazing because you go through the pit lane and you see all the cars and everything. It's really hard as well because of the track of evolution. Because when they drive, the track just changes so much, and you don't really know what to expect. If the car is going to go to understeer or oversteer, it usually goes faster. I remember Imola, if I'm not wrong, from FP1 to FP2, we went 2 seconds quicker. So yeah, I think he's going to enjoy it.
Was it Formula One of Monaco you did this year, didn't you? FRECA was at Monaco as well, which was, well, that must have been amazing.
Yeah, we did Monaco, and last year we did Barcelona, Monaco, and Imola. So yeah, 4.
And what I've heard from other people is that the track looks the best. This is the best you'll ever see that track because Formula One is there. Does that make any difference with like the rubber that the F1 guys are laying down for you? Is the grip different?
It's really like from FP1 to quali, because we only have one practice, it changes a lot, and the grip is just high, and yeah, it just makes the car goes quicker, and that's what we like. So it's quite fun.
Alex, just a quick question from my side. This is a personal sort of question. What's the one thing, apart from the racing, that you're most excited for to go to your first Grand Prix? What is it that you really want to see or you're most thrilled to look forward to?
You know, I think to see what it's like to see a Formula One car go around the track, you know, I think when you're watching it on TV, you know, you can acknowledge how fast they are and how much downforce they have. But, you know, I've never actually experienced or seen that in real life. You know, I think it's crazy to think that they can arrive to a corner 100 kilometers quicker and carry 50k more through the corner at the same time. So, you know, I think that'll be pretty cool to see, you know, to see how quick they actually are and how elite the top level of motorsport is. So I think, you know, to see really what the car is like will be pretty cool.
Let's talk a little bit more about the feeder series stuff. So we're talking GB3, FRECA, the rest of the feeder series things from this year away from Formula One. Dudu, you unfortunately have to suffer the same question I've asked every other driver in their now off season. FRECA finished a few weeks ago, but how was the season from your perspective?
So the season was a little bit of a roller coaster. We were really fast in preseason testing, and for some reason, we were really slow in the beginning of the year, and it was just really frustrating. And after the break, we really sat down and changed a lot of stuff inside of the team, in the car, everything, and we just came back, and 4 rounds to go in Spa, we just suddenly got a podium. In the previous race, I think I finished P28 or something like that. So yeah, it was just fun. Last races were fun. I went from P29 on the championship to P11 suddenly. So yeah, it was fun. I got, I think, 3 top 5s or something like that, a podium, a pole position. So at the end, it was fun, but I reckon it was just too late.
Were you the type of person to do something like, oh, if the championship started from Spa, then I would finish in such and such a position? Have you done that sort of maths? Because if I was a driver, I definitely would have.
I have not. To be honest, it wouldn't. I mean, it would have changed a lot, but then it would just make me sad, I think. And it was just too late, and just have to deal with it.
Well, there are a lot of questions regarding that turnaround, but from the audience, so I'll save them for a little bit later. Let's talk about your extra season. Your extra little bits at the end since the last time we spoke to you, Alex. It's never ending, your Formula 4 this year. You've grabbed more trophies in Mugello since we last spoke. You got, was it 2 P2 finishes in the end? And then now you're the vice champion and the champion of 2 F4 series. How was Italian F4 for you?
Yeah, I think Italian F4 was quite tricky. I think with regards to where we finished, I think at the start of the year it was kind of about playing catch up to Kimi and to Prema. I think US, although I did it with High Tech, US didn't do the championship out in the UAE, so I think in terms of setup and car and stuff, they were a little bit behind at the start. So we had a little bit of catching up to do, which I think after Imola, went really well. I think there was kind of just more, I'd say, racecraft side of things, because the conditions were so tricky. I think some races were half wet, some races were half wet, half dry. So things were always changing. So I think that weekend wasn't necessarily about speed. It was kind of just keeping your nose clean and not going off. So I think the championship started really well, and then I think as things kind of spaced out a little bit, we needed to try and catch up. And then in the end, I think we started to come back again, but then it was too late. So yeah, I think to be the only driver to split all the Premas and come away with vice champion, I was quite happy.
I tell you something, mate. I think the Prema domination is one thing everybody is well aware of, but you put that next to Kimi Antonelli, who, well, firsthand how good that driver is. For you to come second in all that, pretty damn good, mate. Pretty damn good. And let's talk about 2023 now. Big news this week, as you already explained in the intro. You're going from British F4/Italian F4 to GB3. Congratulations. How long have you known for, and how excited are you?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think I've known for a little while. I've done. I did a day testing at Snetterton. I did a 2-day test at Silverstone Grand Prix in the car. So I've known for a little while that was the plan. We were just kind of waiting to announce it. But yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to it. I've really, really, really enjoyed the car. It's got so much downforce. I think it's got so much more than what an F4 car is. I remember the first time I jumped in, I was amazed with how quick you were through the corners with the downforce. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think I've really enjoyed the car, and I'm really enjoying working with High Tech. So I'm looking forward to building on that.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. Some of the times it sets at Spa in GB3 and FRECA are very comparable. So very exciting times. Mentioned FRECA, which means I'm going to segue over to you now, Dudu. Quite quiet on the Barrichello front so far for 2023. What can you tell us, if anything? I know the Haas seat is still open, so probably that.
Well, firstly, congrats to Alex. We all know how hard it is nowadays to sign a contract, especially this early. Alex did a great job. I was able to see him in Mugello. And I'm still struggling. I'll keep fighting for a seat. As you told me, Haas is still open, so that might be it. But I'm still struggling a little bit with the financial part with it. But we'll see. I'm trying some stuff in single seaters. I'm also trying some V8 stuff back here in Brazil, and all I want really is just to be racing next year.
So are you looking at anything, be it Europe, Americas, anywhere, just as long as you're in a racing seat somewhere?
Yeah, that.
Well, we spoke to Gianluca Petikov a few months ago, who is now doing stock car at Brazil, as you will very well know, and Maria very happy about that. So he just seemed the most happy person I could imagine, because I thought he'd be disappointed after dropping out of his career, but he seems to be finding stock car Brazil some of the best racing possible. Is that something you might explore?
Yeah, I actually raced 1 year before. I raced in the car that he raced this year.
Oh,
so yeah, we're very, very good friends. He's my dad's teammate, so it's actually his birthday today, so I have to give it to him. But yeah, we're very good friends. He was really happy about stock car. He's a very good driver, and I hope that he can go back to single series, because I really think he deserves it.
I really think he needs to become a manager. The maturity of that guy, he's one of the nicest people I've spoken to on the podcast. No offense, Alex,
Yeah.
you're okay. But he was just such a nice guy when he was on. So yeah, he says his birthday today as well.
Yeah.
Birthday 2 days ago, because when the podcast goes out. Happy birthday, Gianluca. Happy birthday. That's a lovely little treat. Maria, you were nodding fervently there when I said about Mr. Petikov, because Brazil's going through a bit of a change in terms of changing of the guards, I guess, from the Barrichello, from Rubens, from Felipe Massa. It's got a bit quiet, but now Drugovich, F2 champion since the last time we spoke. Gabriel Bortoleto, the first confirmed F3 driver for 2023. Dudu grabs silverware in FRECA. Brazil's just gifted us another classic race. Brazilian F4 is joining the F1 support bill. It's all looking, how you'd say, muito bom right now for your country.
I was wondering how you're going to pronounce that. Really good. But yeah, it was all right, actually. But yeah, it's all looking muito bom. But if I'm being honest, I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I'd say that they are getting what they deserve. Because if we look to these Brazilian drivers in the 50 series, yeah, they're really great. But if you look even like to the past and their go-karting career, I didn't have the opportunity to see them race in go-karts because I'm their age. So I was probably doing something else. Definitely not racing. But anyways, they really had the talent. It was always there. The struggle was money and the financial problems. So it's just so nice to see that everything is working out. And I think it has been, especially after 2020, let's say like a couple of years back, with Felipe starting his F2 career and Caio winning. I mean, he didn't win because Vitor Marcon did, but he was vice champion in Formula Renault, and then Gianluca it wasn't FRECA, it was Formula Regional. Anyways, we have these, all, like you said, all of these great talents, and I think it's finally going towards the right track, and they're getting what they deserve.
Yeah, so we've got Aston Martin now for Drugovich. Who knows what could happen for it? Bortoleto looked so quick, as you'll know as well, Dudu, and getting a Trident drive in F3, huge stuff. So yeah, a bit of a boom time for the country. I really hope all the best for Brazil, because Brazil and Formula One just go hand in hand. Well, that's enough questions from me, because the F1 Feeder Series podcast is for you, viewers and listeners. We're going to move on to the hashtag AskF1FS part of the podcast. If this is your first time watching or listening, you can get involved by using the hashtag AskF1FS on Twitter, joining our Discord, and using the podcast questions channel, commenting on our YouTube videos, or keeping an eye out on our Instagram posts and stories. As ever, loads and loads of questions, so apologies if we don't read yours out. I'm going to start with this question from Sam via Twitter, and it's to Alex. How was the FDA camp, and what did you learn from that experience?
think this is the 1 millionth question I've had in the experience. Yeah, no, I think my answer's been the same every time. You know, it was good.
Whoa, just change your answer up a little bit. Give us some more honesty. What haven't you told the world about it?
You know, yeah, it was a good experience. I think, you know, I learned a lot. It was great to see that, you know, my talent and my abilities being recognized by a Formula One team like Ferrari. You know, to get picked for their scouting camp is a pretty cool thing.
This is PR speak, Alex. Tell us what I'm going to press you on this. What happened here? Like, what were you doing? Were you doing the trainings in terms of training in the car? What were you doing in the gym? Who else was there? What did you feel like your ability was comparatively? How do you feel it went compared to your potential?
Yeah, you know, I think you know, it was basically a 4-day program. Well, actually 5, but I had to miss the last day, which I did the following week because of British F4 at Silverstone. But it was basically a camp that consisted of, you know, physical and mental training. And then we also did driving on their test track Fiorano. So the driving was basically the same format as an Italian F4 weekend. So you had FP1, FP2, qualifying 1, qualifying 2, and then a full race sim. And so we had all the drivers in the camp, and then we had Rafa Kamara there as well, who was a reference driver, which was, I think, really good for me to see. You know, because I think it's safe to say that at the start of the year, Prema definitely had an upper hand on the rest of the teams in Italian F4. So it was really good to compare to somebody who was in Prema, you know, to see if there's any driving style differences or anything I could learn from to then go and take to Italian F4 to
steal.
Yeah, steal. To make myself better as a driver, which I think, you know, in the end, finishing vice champion, it worked. So I think, yeah, you know, it was a good experience. It was nice, you know. It was, I think, being around the factory and you know, seeing how they work there and being on the sim and, you know, working with everybody was pretty cool. You know, in the end, I didn't get picked for, you know, I don't know, but yeah, I think it was a really cool experience and I enjoyed being there.
Okay, I'll let you off now. I'll stop the press. Maria, do you want to take the next question?
Yes. Well, question to Dudu from W Sarah Dream God 5 via Instagram. Dudu, how are you managing racing in Europe and living in Brazil?
So I actually lived in England this year.
My condolences.
Yeah, no, it was actually all right because in 2021 I lived in Italy, and 2022 I moved to England. So I don't know, I just felt better. I lived in Banbury, which was about 5 minutes from the team, and I really got along really well with my mechanics, my teammates, my engineers, and everything. So I would just go to the team every day and have lunch, have fun really. So it was actually all right.
Were you coming back to Brazil every off season then? Like, was it like 6 months here, 6 months back?
Yeah, basically that. Sometimes I would come back because I had some sponsor stuff to do back here in Brazil. Also, when it was my brother's birthday or my mom and my dad and so on. And yeah, it was all right.
And if I may ask about Ruben, so when he came over, obviously very happy to see you, especially with some of your better results and stuff. Was he staying with you in Banbury, or was he getting his own luxury Hilton hotel?
No. He would only go to the race weekend, and then he would come back here to Brazil. He has to work on his own stuff, and yeah, work like that.
Okay, so you didn't have to clean up too much when you're staying in Banbury. I understand what's going on. I understand what's going on now. Another question, actually referring to your father. I think this is actually the only one you'll probably be happy to know, Dudu. This is from CM Parfait 16, a regular question asker. Hi, Dudu. Out of all the F1 cars your dad, and he says in brackets, one of my favorite drivers, by the way, has ever drove, which one would you want to drive the most?
That's a great question, and I would answer Brown GP 2009.
That would be my answer as well. That car looks badass. Is that the best livery you've ever seen in your life? Yes,
for sure, 100%, yeah.
What I find interesting, though, is you didn't go to any of the early Ferraris from the early 2000s or anything. Would that be any of those run a close second? Was it 2002 one that was just all dominant?
Yeah. He said that 2002 and 2009 were two of the better cars he drove in his career. but I just prefer the livery 2009. So I'll go with that.
How old were you in 2002? One? Two?
One.
Yeah,
one.
I feel I'm trying to understand now why you might remember that one and have it enjoyed a little bit more. No, great answer. And Maria, would you be able to grab this next one as well?
Yes, of course. Question from Perplex via Discord to Alex. What are your goals for your GB3 campaign?
I think
no PR bullshit here, Alex. Some proper answers.
I think, to be blunt about it, I think the goal is to win. I think after coming in with High-Tech into the year of British F4 and the year we had, pretty much completely dominating the whole season. I think the goal is to do the same again. I think we saw last year that High-Tech won the team's championship and won the championship with Luke Browning as well. So it's quite clear that the car is there to do so. And I think in the test days that I have done so far, like I said, in Steadington and Silverstone, the pace has been good in comparison to the frequent drivers in the championship. So yeah, I think the goal is definitely to win.
Has it ever? Let me try that again. Can't even get my words out. Has there already been any other drivers announced for GB3 next year? Anybody that you've raced against this year? I know, is it Louis Sharp's racing in your F4 UAE thing this weekend? Is he stepping up? Do you know? Anybody else that you've raced against who will be racing in GB3?
To be honest, at the moment, I'm not sure. I think any of the drivers that have been announced for GB3, I haven't raced in the past. I think a lot of them are going to be second-year drivers of the championship. I know when I tested, Louis Sharp was there in GB3 as well with Carlin. So maybe that could be possible for him. But to be honest, I don't know. I haven't seen any drivers that I've raced against previously announced for the championship yet. But we'll have to wait and see.
More victims for the Dunne train. That's what I'm hearing. These are two questions, one from Fossey King via Discord and one from AS19 Alex, IF1 Feeder Series editor. Both for you, Dudu, and both related, so we'll just ask them at the same time. First up from Fossey King, question for Dudu. Why do you think yourself and Arden had a large increase in competitiveness, easy for me to say, midway through the FRECA season? And also from Alex, Dudu, what had to change from you going from midfield also ran to a regular point scorer and podium finisher this year?
Yeah, so as I said before, we changed a lot of stuff inside the team, mechanics, way of thinking, really, way of driving. And we just really improved as a team. And it was really nice to see the results coming together on track because we really, really worked hard, and as you guys know, FRECA is quite a big championship, so it's hard to be on top. And when we saw ourselves battling for podiums and top 10s, right, for points and everything, it was just very nice.
But you say things changed, like mentality and everything. What sort of things were you talking about within the team? I'm going to push you like I pushed Alex. It's only fair. Like, I'm going to press on this. What was it that you were changing? Was it, I don't know, stealing stuff from Prema? What was going on?
Yeah, 100% stealing stuff from Prema.
Confirmed, we've got a scoop.
No, so yeah, we changed a lot of stuff in the car, setup wise, and really just driving wise. And also it was our first year working together, all the three drivers. So really just chemistry building up and everything just getting better, really.
So do you think that was partly you and the drivers speaking to each other more, communicating more? Was that part of it? How was it before the summer break? Yeah,
we're actually very good friends, and we all spoke Spanish, which is good to not speak the same language as your team, because sometimes you can just, speak some different stuff. And it was good. But as I said, we also changed the setup. We just built basically a new car, and it was very different in the beginning. It was very different to drive, but it worked out.
Do you think having just two rookie teammates as well was something that made more pressure on you to be the guiding figure? Do you think potentially if you had two second-year drivers like yourself, it would have been different?
I don't think it changes a lot, really. You just have to sit on the car and do your best. I don't think that changes a lot.
Question to Alex from ACC R16 under strike. Alex, when in the season did you realize you could fight for the championship?
Is that in Italian or British F4?
I presume it's going to be British F4 because it's talking about the championship which you won, but it doesn't specify. Why didn't you decide?
I think after the first race is kind of when I had a good idea. You know, I think I won the first race by 5.5 seconds, I believe, and I had the fastest lap by quite a bit as well. So I think, you know, after the first weekend, when it went so well, you know, 2 wins and then in the end 3 podiums as well, second in the reverse grid, I think I had a pretty good idea of how I would have liked it to play out, or how I think it could have played out. You know, I think the team and I really had a good setup and a good car together, and we were working really well together, and I felt really comfortable with the situation I was in and with the car that I was in. And, you know, I think when you're comfortable with the situation you're in, it's much easier to perform. So yeah, you know, I knew that after the first race, what we had the potential to do.
So really, it's just win the first race, win the championship. Simple plan.
Yeah.
Maybe this answers the next question, which is to both of you. I'm going to ask you first, Dudu, from Callan Edwards via Discord. To both of you, what was your favourite moment of the season? Is that a really obvious question to ask you, Dudu?
Yeah, it has to, because I just came from finishing P28 to finish on the podium, so I have to give it to Spa.
If I take Spa away, just to make this a little bit more difficult for you, what then would be the top moment of the year?
It would have to be the next race, which was Red Bull Ring, when I scored the pole position. So that, yeah, quite easy as well.
All about results, you guys, aren't you? Just all business. Yeah, Alex, top moment of the year for you?
I'm going to say Snetterton race 3 in British F4. I think I won the race by 10 seconds and had the fastest lap by like 8/10 or something crazy. So yeah, that one was pretty cool.
That's all right.
Pretty good. All about the domination, you guys. All about the winning. Fair enough. I understand it. Maria, please take us away with the next one.
Yeah, this is a question for you both. We're going to start with Dudu. So, question from Mongoose via Discord. If not Formula One, what would it be your preferred racing series to make a career in?
Good question, Mongoose.
That's a good question, and I'm a really big fan of DTM, and especially now that we have Brazilian there, Felipe Fraga, which I'm very good friends and a big fan as well. And yeah, that would be a good one.
Is there anything you've done in terms of speaking for that, or is that something you're looking at as a fallback plan? Like you mentioned already, that struggling to know what you're going to do next year, especially on the single-seater route. Is it something you'd explore for next year if you could?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would 100% go into that. And we've been talking. I tested Ferrari GT3 once already in Vallelunga. That went well. I had fun as well. So yeah, hopefully one day.
Yeah, some lovely cars in that. Alex, if not F1, what would it be?
To be honest, I don't know. I think, you know, I'm fairly streamlined on the idea of making it to Formula One. You know, I think if there was anywhere else to go, I'd think about it when the time comes. I think from what I've seen of drivers who unfortunately haven't made it to Formula One and have gone elsewhere, you know, I think IndyCar is a good option. I think that's probably the closest thing you can get to Formula One if you don't make it to Formula One. And then also something like you know, WEC or European Le Mans Series. I think, you know, the LMP1 car and the new hypercar and LMP2 and stuff is pretty cool. So I think that would be good as well. But I'd like to say I'm fairly streamlined on the aim for Formula One.
I was going to shout at you for being too press friendly again there with your PR answers. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, because there are some great series in motorsport right now. I think DTM, IndyCar, WEC, some great answers out there. So fully understood. This question comes from Will Barrett, 123. And the question to both of you: what is your relationship like with your mechanic? Alex, do you want to take this one first?
My relationships with my mechanics have been really, really good. You know, I spent a lot of time with both of them. You know, I think my relationship with my mechanic in high tech, you know, he's pretty much, I think he's only 3 or 4 years older than me.
Oh, really?
which is good. So, it's nice to have somebody in your age range. You can kind of relate to them a little bit more. I've spent quite a lot of time with him, and when I'm over in the UK, I stay with him sometimes as well. So, I have a really good relationship with my mechanic in high tech, and then in US I had a really good relationship with my mechanic as well. I think we had a good friendly attitude and always messing with each other before the grid and making jokes. So yeah, I think both mechanics in both series I've had really good relationships with, and I've really enjoyed working with both of them.
I just went to check quickly your age as well. Happy birthday. Was that a couple of days ago as well? So 17 now, getting oh so old, around half my age. So can't relate too much, but happy birthday, mate. Do you do relationship with your mechanic?
So actually that question was from my mechanic. And we had a really, really good relationship. As Alex said, my mechanic is 2 or 3 years only older than me as well. So we had a lot of fun. Just singing on the radio, and don't ask me why, but barking to other teams. Never saw that before in my life, but yeah.
Barking like a dog?
Yeah, like a dog, yeah. That. Yeah. I don't know. It was just fun. It was great. Since the first time I tested with him, I knew I wanted to be working with him. I know we had a lot of fun, but he was also very, very professional and did what had to be done the whole year. And I just couldn't have a better mechanic than him.
Well, Will, I don't know if you were after some sort of glowing review, but sounds like you got one as well. But yeah, I have to bark at you next time I see you. So thank you for the question. Marie, you got this next one as well, please.
Yeah, of course. Question from Lewis _ Sydney 19 via Instagram to Dudu. What is wheel-to-wheel action really like? What are the emotions within the helmet?
Well, that's a good question. They're really nice. For me, it's the best part of racing, really. You can even touch a bit. It's all right sometimes. And not a no rouge, though. That's not nice. And but battling is always fun. When the guy is clean, well, hard but clean, is always nice. It's not nice to get pushed off or anything like that. But overtakes, defending, everything like that is my favorite. So that's why I love motorsport so much.
Can I ask, Dudu, when I play Formula One games or simulate in iRacing or be very bad, the fun part for me is the racing elements. But when I speak to drivers and the wheel-to-wheel parts of the racing, the going side by side, not necessarily wheel bashing, but getting very close to the drivers, like Lewis is suggesting. But when I speak to some drivers, it sounds like qualifying is actually the best part of the weekend for them, having light fuel load, the car in its best state, track kind of by yourself, and just going really fast. Do you find that's the same as these other drivers I've spoken to, that is the best bit of being a racing driver, is doing your own thing?
Yeah, 100%, because quali is basically the only time where it's 100% full push. Because on the race, we have to take care of our tires, and it's super hard, especially in FRECA, to overtake because of the aero wash. So yeah, quali is nice, especially on the tracks where you only have 1 or 2 push laps. That's when it's really nice as well. Monaco quali is very nice because you have to be super, super close to the walls. And as you said, it's just like iRacing, really. You just push a lot on quali. The battling and everything like that on the race is nice, but you don't get a lot of that in single seaters. I mean, you do, but not a lot. Quali is for sure the best moment of the weekend.
Fascinating. And just like iRacing, you just press the escape key and then all of a sudden you're back in the pit lane. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. This is a question from Tom Evans, and it was a DM direct to me. So you're welcome, Tom, sneaking this one in. This one goes to Alex, and he says, you've told me that you have very much been enjoying watching people try and figure out where you're going next year. But what was the most amusing prediction that you had seen? P.S. He wants to boast that he got it right.
I think I got a lot of predictions. Some people thought I was doing a third year in F4. Some people thought I was doing FRECA, Euro Formula, GB3. I think one of them was also said that I was doing FIA F3 with Prema, which was an interesting one. But yeah, there was a lot of pretty cool insights from different people. I have no idea where they get their information from because it was all wrong. But yeah, it was pretty funny to see.
You use the word insight very incorrectly there, I'd say. It doesn't sound like anybody had any insight at all. And there's this question here from, well, I say friend of the show, although never been on it, but from EF Waldron via Instagram. Alex, have you got a new toothbrush yet? And what are some things you do before a race that's superstitious to you? Most important question, though, the toothbrush.
That's a pretty weird one. Yes, I have got a new toothbrush recently. Always make sure to update my toothbrush that it's nice and clean, of course. And then some stuff before I do the race. I think I'm quite a superstitious person. I think if I ever do, let's say I do something on a race weekend and that weekend goes really well, then I'll try and do the same thing for every weekend after that, because I think to myself, oh, this thing worked, let's keep on doing it. So, I think from when I wake up to the sequence of how I have a shower to when I get dressed to when I get to the track and how I clean my helmet, and everything I do is always kind of in a routine and in the same order, and also in the sense of when I'm getting dressed, when I put my suit on, when I put my helmet on, from which side I get in the car, everything is always the same. I think I'm quite superstitious, so if anything's out of line, I get a little bit annoyed and frustrated, so I like to keep everything clean and in the same routine. So
I know it sounds weird, but I do the same.
All of the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just a question, I've got another follow-up after this, but just a question then on which side of the car do both of you get in?
I get in from the right side.
I get in from the left.
Oh, really? See, what I've heard before is it's from karting and everyone wants to avoid the engine and everyone does the same side, which I think everyone gets in from the right, to avoid the engine.
Actually, no. I get in from the left side, but from the side I get in, I think it's from the right, but I actually get in from the left side as well.
Alex, how can you be a British F4 champion and not know left from right? How is that even possible?
Good job.
Alex, do you have any message for this special user, EF Waldron?
No.
Great.
Do you like to explain why I would ask that question?
Because it's my mum.
Keeping your dental care correct. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that question. That is all the time we have for this week. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. If you'd like to have your question asked in a future episode, use the hashtag AskF1FS on Twitter. Drop any questions below if you're watching on YouTube. Respond to our Instagram stories or posts, or let us know what questions you have on your mind on our Discord. Look for the podcast questions channel. If you are watching on YouTube, dropping a like on the video, leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel all really helps us out. And if you're listening, leaving a review on the podcast platform you're listening on is greatly appreciated. As I mentioned as well, on YouTube, we do have that F2 2023 video that you can check out. We'd love to hear your feedback on that so we can potentially do some more in the off season. Finally, check out f1feederseries.com for more Feeder Series insight and follow F1 Feeder Series 1, F1 FS Americas and F1 FS Live on Twitter. You can find the links to all of those, plus the Twitter accounts for myself and everyone else on the podcast in the YouTube description or the podcast show notes. If you want to hear from Maria, just go on the official F1 Twitter account and hear her voice there. Until next time, we have been the F1 Feeder Series podcast. Goodbye.